Hello again. Okay, in this video, we're going to start connecting to the database. We're going to start saving information onto the Firestore database. And we're going to do it in a really cool, modern way. We're going to create a continuous connection to the database. And what I mean by that is um, anytime the database is changed in any way, our app will be notified and will update accordingly. And what's awesome about this is that if we set it up the right way, we won't have to write code that manually or periodically refreshes the app or a part of the app in order to get the most up-to-date information from the database. Instead, the database, anytime the database changes, the app will just be notified automatically and will update accordingly. To be honest, we're not going to see the full awesomeness of this in the app that we're building because our app is so simple. But let's say you're building a more complicated app where um, maybe somebody else, let's take like messaging, for example. Let's say somebody sends you a message and that updates your part of the database with their message. Well, in the old days, you would have to like refresh your app or maybe push a button on the app in order to see that message. But the way that we're going to do it is that as soon as that message is saved on your database or on your piece of the database, your account's part of the database, it will automatically notify your app and show whatever changes have been made or whatever message is in the database. So let me show you how it works. First, we need to actually add the database to the Firebase console. So I'm going to do a few things first. First, I'm going to delete this account because I want to kind of start fresh, which means that then if I refresh this, this will no longer be able to authenticate, which will kick me out. Good, it kicked me back out to the home page. Great. Now we're going to go to Firestore. Firestore is Firebase's newest database product. So we're using real-time database as the older database product from Firebase. All right, we're going to create a database. I'm going to keep it in production mode. So I'm pressing next. Okay, we're going to just keep this in a region near where we are. We're letting this run, letting it finish. Awesome. Okay, so this is an empty database right now. We need to start by creating a collection. A collection is, you can think of it in a sense as a like a master folder. So I'm going to press collection. I'll call this user data. And they want me to have at least one starting document in this. So I'll just press auto ID and leave everything the same and press save. Cool. So I've got a collection called user data. I've got just a dummy document in it right now with no fields in that dummy document, with no data in that dummy document. Great. All right, let's go back to our code. Let's go to our app. I want to save some information in that database. I don't want to save the email and password because that information is being saved in my authentication area. And that information's kind of extra sensitive. Okay, so how do we, or where, I guess the first question is, where do we want to write a function that saves information or that sends information to the database? Now, you might think, oh, let's put it in the home function. And I made that when I started coding. That's something I that's definitely a mistake I would have made or have made. You might think, well, this is where the information is first being collected from this person signing in. So let's write a function in here that sends it over to the database. But the problem with that is that the home function, the home component, I mean, it's eventually going to redirect, which means it's going to kind of um, unmount itself. It's going to disappear at a certain point. And the component that determines when it redirects is actually this component, specifically this auth on state changed, right? Once this state says logged in true, this home component is going to redirect, which means that if this home component isn't finished sending things to the database by the time that this um, registers the auth state change, then this home component might start giving me errors because um, if it's redirecting before it's finished doing its database work, that is a problem. And that will be a problem that you have if you try to connect to the database in the home component, because actually the authentication has to happen before we start sending information to the database, meaning the authentication has to first check if there's if it can make a new account, and only if it can make a new account can we start saving like first name, last name to the database. So therefore, it makes more sense to write our database connection function in this component, because we know that this component will never unmount, right? Unless someone closes the app in the middle of their sign up, but this component will never unmount. The way we do this is that we make sure that right before the authentication happens, our sign up information is passed back to our app component. There's no way to write a function in a component that passes information back up to a parent. Home is like a sub component to app.tsx. So therefore, we need to write a function in app.tsx, pass it down to home in order to kind of grab that sign up information and hold it in app.tsx. So here's how we do that. We are going to write a new function in app.tsx. And we'll call this function save sign up data. And this is just going to going to accept some data. Now you might be wondering, why is it always giving me this little warning symbol here? That's a TypeScript thing. It wants me to specify more specifically what kind of information is going to be passed to save sign up data. You can fix that by typing any. I mean, if you want to be more specific, we're going to be passing an object here. But if that's confusing to you right now, just put any, and then it means it will take anything. What is save sign up data going to do? It's going to save the sign up data, and it's going to save it in itself. It's going to save it in this component. Call it just sign up data, and it'll be data, which means we should probably up here put something called sign up data. And I'll just make it an empty object. All right. Okay, so save sign up data needs to be passed down to our home page. Okay, so save sign up data is passed down to our home page. Let's go to our home page now. Right before the authentication, the user is created on the authentication variable, right before that, why don't we do this dot props? Props is how we refer to a function that's being passed down or anything that's being passed down. Save sign up data, and let's just pass the entire state here, right? We might as well just pass this entire state back up to the app.tsx component. Cool. All right, if you want to make sure that that works, you can just temporarily comment out this entire authentication stuff. Why don't I put console.log, console.log, this dot state dot sign up data. Okay, I'm getting an error that has to do with TypeScript. Basically, whenever you edit state in a component using TypeScript, you're supposed to make rules about the exact kind of data that these states can be changed into. So apparently this is putting saying sign up data equals an empty object is not enough for TypeScript to feel confident that sign up data will always hold objects. If we were writing real TypeScript, we would create something called an interface. We'd probably write it right up here, which specifies exactly the kind of data types that each of these state properties can hold. But I don't want to get into that in this tutorial, in this video series. So we're going to do a workaround. Some might call it a lazy workaround, but I think it's perfectly fine. We're going to write here, right after component, we're going to write this, any, comma, any. And so normally what you would do is you would define, if you were doing this like the 100% TypeScript way, you would define the interfaces up here, and then you would refer to this one interface here and one interface here. The first interface would be telling all the kinds of props that this component can take, and the second thing would be defining all the different kinds of states that this component can hold. But by putting any and any here, we don't have to use interface because we've said that this component can hold any kind of state and accept any kind of props. Therefore, when we go to change the state down here, we're not getting an error anymore. So I can do what I was trying to do, which is just log the state, or specifically log the sign up data in the state immediately after changing it. So if I type, let me also get rid of this. Where is this coming from? Home 29. Let's see. Let me get rid of this too. I don't need this anymore. Okay. All right, so we type some stuff, type some stuff, type some stuff, type some stuff, press sign up, and we've successfully made it so that this state is passed up here to this state using the function that I wrote on this component. Okay, so now that the information is where I want it to be, I want this information, this sign up data, to be sent to the database, but only after the authentication is complete. So I'm going to create a function called finish sign up sign in, which will run anytime someone either signs up or signs in. And it's going to go right, it's going to be, I'm going to put it right here. After the state is set and after on auth state changed is complete, don't have to do that. I can just write this dot finish sign in. Okay, what is this function going to do? Let's first talk about what it does if you are signing up. So when would it need to deal with someone signing up? It would need to deal with someone signing up when sign up data equals does not equal null. And maybe to make this a little more exact, we should go back here and call sign up data null to start. I think that's a little safer. Okay. So if this dot state dot sign up data does not equal null, what's going to happen? Well, we need to send information to the database. How do we send information to the database? Let's go to the documentation. We were looking previously at authentication. What we need now is Cloud Firestore. We need this. Add a new document in collection in a collection. So, or in other words, set a document. Because we've got a collection here, but we need a document here, which is going to have information. So I'm taking this and I'm putting it in here. And I need to make some changes. The collection is going to be called user data. The document is going to be, now what's the document going to be? Well, we could call the document anything, but best practice is to refer to the document as the user ID that is given to us in Firestore authentication. So every time Firestore creates a new identifier or authenticates a new user, it creates a user ID. And that user ID is a good ID to use anytime you want to like cross-reference information that is here with information that is here. So we're going to use that ID as the name of the document in our collection. So how do we get that ID? Well, with the IDs being saved right here in Firebase user. And I don't have an easy way to show you that ugly object right now, but so you're just gonna have to trust me that there's a property on Firebase user called UID. So I'm gonna say var UID equals this dot state dot Firebase user dot UID. Okay. And we'll use that UID as the name for the document, as the name for this document. It's going to look kind of like this, although it's a little longer than this this dummy UID that was given to us here. All right, so user data, UID, and what needs to be set here? I'm going to set 3 things here. Like I said, there are 3 things that we want to save in this database. And I'm just going to copy and paste them from another thing I'm looking at here. Oops. I want the first name, this .state signup data first name. I want the last name, and I'm going to put an empty array of items in there. And you'll see why we want that in a little bit. This looks good. Document successfully written. I guess we can type something a little different there. How about we type user data added to database, and we can keep this the same. I do want to add one thing right here. I'm going to set sign up data back to null after that sign up data has already been saved to the database. All right, before I test this out, I want to do one more thing. I want to look at the rules for my database. All right, rules, I'm not going to lie, can be kind of annoying. I don't know this rules version equals to. I learned it before they implemented the second rules version. So if you want to learn about this alternative way of writing rules in Firestore, go right ahead. To be honest, if you're making a big app, you're probably going to have to do a lot of research on your own on Firestore rules because they can be kind of complicated. So I'm just warning you that this is a pain, but I'm going to show you a little bit of what I know right now just to make sure that it works. So I'm getting rid of this rules version 2. This says Service Cloud Firestore, that stays the same. This says match databases. Okay, so we're going to leave this the same. All right, this I'm going to change to what I'm familiar with. Instead of match/document equals star star, I'm familiar with it this way: match user data ID. So this basically says if you're trying to write to user data, meaning the user data collection, these are the rules. All right, I'm going to allow all reading. So I'm not going to set any specific rules for reading this collection. However, as far as writing, I'm going to write this. You're allowed, so when someone is accessing this database, they're allowed to write if the request.auth.id, meaning whoever's authenticated, their user ID, meaning the ID that is connected to this auth and that we've also sort of deconstructed and took it, and that we've also, grabbed here. That authentication has to match the name that we're giving to the document, which user data ID is the name that we're giving to the document. All right, that's confusing. I wish I could explain it better. Perhaps it's because I don't fully understand it. I've just messed around with rules so much that I know that when things work and when they don't. If for right now, I wouldn't worry too much about rules. I would worry about just being able to save anything to the database. And then when your app starts getting more complicated and when you want to actually have real users using an app, that's when you have to start worrying more about rules, because that's when you have to start worrying a lot more about security. So I'm going to leave this like this. I'm going to publish. All right, so before we do anything else, let's just make sure that this works. There's more things I want to show you in this video, but I want to make sure that this works first. So I need to turn this authentication back on. Let's test it out. Cool. So successfully created user logged in, list page mounted, user data added to database. Now, if I go here and I go back to my data, there you go. I've got this user ID is here. My data is here. I've got an empty place to start making my list. I use this user ID that starts with IOZ as the document title for this document. I go to authentication. You can see that it's the same user ID that is used to identify this user. Awesome. All right. There's one more complicated thing that I need to show you. Remember I said I want to create a connection to the database so that whenever the database is updated, the app is automatically updated accordingly. So I'm going to create a function called connect current user. I'm going to go to my documentation. Okay, and I'm going to go here to read data. And this is what I want. Listen for real-time updates. This is where the magic is. It's this thing, on snapshot. Okay. On snapshot means that it's like continuously taking a snapshot of the database and keeping track of, or specifically of that document in the database, and keeping track of any moment that something changes. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in here. And the collection is still user data. The doc is that I want to be connected to is still this doc, which we're using the UID. to refer to. Let's just test this out. So I've got connect current user. Oh, I have to run connect current user. Where am I going to run connect current user? Well, I'm going to run connect current user right, regardless of whether it's a sign up or a sign in, I'm going to run connect current user. So I'm going to do this. Oops. I need to go here again. I need to delete this user. Refresh. All right, current data. Nice. It's giving me the current data because I've now run the snapshot function. Now watch this. This is the awesome part. Anytime this changes, so let's say I change my name I add an extra R to my name. Update. Look, it instantly knew without, I didn't have to write any function or any additional function to call, to like make another call to that database, to check that database again. It just knew. It just knew that there was a change and it's printing that change. That's extremely powerful. The instantaneousness of Firebase is going to, we're about to add it to the instantaneousness of React. And what is the instantaneousness of React? The instantaneousness of React is that whenever state is updated, the render function is instantly re-rendered. So if we can set up a situation where state is updated as soon as there's a change on the database, then we can create an app that is instantaneously updated whenever there's a database change. That's what we're going to do right this second with just a couple additional lines of code. Add right here doc.data. That's how on snapshot refers to the data for some reason. So we're going to take that data and we're going to just add it right away as soon as it comes in. As soon as there's an update, we're going to add it right away to that user, to this user data, which is in the state of the app. All right, so user data is, it's already being passed down to the list, which is where I actually want to use that data. So I'm going to go here to list, right up here. All right, so this .props.appstate.userdata items, this .props.appstate.userdata first name, this .props.appstate.userdata last name. This is just, I've deconstructed this app state to just get the user data information that I want, and I've called it items first name and last name. So now I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to do welcome first name space last name. Save it. Look at that. Welcome, Zach Brewer. Well, let's test this out. Now you're going to see the magic. Update. Instantaneously updated that for me. All right. We need to be careful about, we need to be a little bit careful about this, about using this on snapshot, because if we log out, that snapshot needs to be turned off. And we don't want like we don't want to log out and then still have this like this on snapshot function continuously checking whether or not there's been any changes to the database. We want to make sure that that gets shut off when we sign out. And Firebase lets us do this, although it's a little confusing. All right, here you have to scroll down all the way to here, detach a list. Basically, like this whole thing, this whole function needs to be kind of like saved in a variable. So I'm going to write, I'm going to call it, they call it unsubscribe here. I'm going to call it connection function, which is like the function that we're using to connect to the database. And I want to save this connection function in my state. Okay. I want to save this connection function in my state because I want to be able to disconnect anywhere and remember that my app state is being passed down to my components. So if I were to create additional components, I would also pass the app state down to them. And so this just allows me to refer to this connection function from anywhere. The obvious place where we want to call this connection function in this app is our handle sign out. So right here, I'm going to write this dot props dot app state dot connection function, and it is a function, so I can call it right there. And there's something else that needs to happen here in the handle sign out, and that is that we actually need to undo this authentication, right? We need to sign out from this authentication. So the way we do that is we go back up here to authentication, web, manage users, password authentication. All right, this is where we were before. Right here, firebase.auth.signout. Put it right here as well in the handle sign out. Okay, I believe we can get rid of this and this like before. We might as well take this and put it in here. If you want to log your error, that's never a bad idea. All right. Wow, we are getting really close to having a finished app. Let's test this sign out now. Sign out. Okay, let's actually just refresh everything. All right, let's sign in. I'm signed in. Welcome, Zach Brewer. Signing out now. Sign out, user not logged in. Home page is remounted. Okay, I think that worked. So I don't have any good way of proving to you right now that this connection function ran, that it actually disconnected this on snapshot. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it right now. The reason I know it's important is because I've had errors before where I tried to do this sign out and only this sign out, and I was still getting errors related to the fact that this on snapshot was still struggling to connect. For right now, you're just gonna take my word for it that this is an important part of building an app that doesn't have errors. Okay, we have one more video to do, and that video is going to deal with making this work, making the list populate, and guess what? After that, we're ready to publish on the web, on the Google Play Store, and on the App Store. So we're getting really close. Stay tuned. See you soon.